What is happening, my friends? How are y'all doing today? All right, so what we're gonna do today, okay, you can see I don't have my seat up here, nothing. Of course, I have my spider rigging rods with me because that's my baby is spider rigging. It's what wakes you up at night. But we're not gonna be spider rigging today. We might do a little bit off camera just to test some things out. But today we're gonna be crappie fishing with the float. Let's go ahead and go through the setup. This here is a 7-foot Wally Marshall speed shooter, okay, made by Lew's. Great rod, great rod. Great for dock shooting, great for casting jigs, crankbaits, whatever you're casting, it's great for it. It's also a good bluegill rod as well. Here is a Fluger President. I don't know exactly the size, but y'all can see it compared to my hand, really small. 4-pound Crappie Max line. I prefer Crappie Max line over any other crappie line out there, and I might do a video in the future as to why I prefer the Crappie Max line. The float, if y'all can see it, is a Bass Pro Shop. Can't remember the name of them, but it's made out of some type of wood. Tiny little split shot about the size of a BB, and of course, Cam's nasty bend hook. We're gonna be using minnows, okay? Let's go ahead and get us one out. And what I'm gonna be focusing on, pulled up here to this bridge, and there might be some around these columns, maybe up towards the bank, and there's a brush pile back over there. So we're gonna try to focus on this area for a little while. Okay, straight through the lips. You can tell he's been used before. I always put my minnows back if I don't use them. And he's swimming fine. But we're gonna do our first cast. I'm gonna do it towards them columns, okay? And all I'm gonna let it do is just sit there. Occasionally I might give it a little twitch or a pop just to get that minnow moving more. But that's it. That's all I'm gonna be doing, okay? So y'all stick around. All right, folks, we got us one on the float. Feels like a nice fish too, guys. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Not a bad fish. Not a bad fish at all. Probably need a net for him, but we just go get him in here. All right. We had to change the depth a few times. Look right there. That's a good. He's pushing a pound. He's pushing a pound. Big old mouth on him. Clean, healthy fish. You can see he's bleached out. The water temp is 71 degrees. It's dropped down a lot. But we're gonna get the release on this fish. And there he goes. There again. Switching your depths around is really gonna help you when it comes to crappie fishing with the float. I'm probably about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot down from the float. And you know, that's what did it right there. That's what got the job done, is the old Cam's nasty bend hook. All right, just using minnows. And you can use this technique from a boat, from the bank, from a bridge, from a dock, wherever you're fishing. You can use the same technique just like this, okay? And we're gonna throw it out there, and that brush is all around in that area. But that fish came from the left side of that brush, okay? So what I'm doing, I'm just reeling it back, just giving it a gentle pull every now and then. We didn't get no bites over there at the bridge. We marked some on the depth finder, but we didn't catch any fish over there. So we're gonna stick to this brush pile. One advantage to fishing with the float, guys, y'all know how much I love spider rigging. I really can't express my feelings for spider rigging enough. But it's almost the same thing, okay? The float is keeping that bait, whether it be minnows, jigs tipped with minnows, etc., is keeping that bait in the strike zone a lot longer than, say, if I was casting a curly tail grub or a beetle spin or a, I don't know, crankbait, whatever, okay? And even if I was fishing with just a split shot hook and a minnow, that float is still going to keep my bait in the strike zone longer than I would, say, casting. Now, I will say, if you're fishing for crappie and the crappie are real finicky that day, the float can almost kind of hurt you. What I mean by that is, when I cast this thing out, see that splash that it just made? What it'll do, after so many times that you get to throwing in that same spot, that float is going to start, it won't scare the fish away, but they gonna know exactly what it is. They're gonna keep hearing that float hit the water, keep hearing the float hit the water, keep hearing the float hit the water. And they're gonna tell themselves, hey, every time I hear that, and if I see a minnow or something, jig, don't go after it. So, after a couple fish, or like in our case, get a nice fish off this brush, and then we stop catching them, what you want to resort to is taking this float, okay, and taking it off. Then you are left with the split shot and the minnow and the hook, okay? But you got to control yourself and tell yourself, don't sit there and, shake the rod around. Don't try to blast it through that brush or whatever. Just let the minnow do the work, okay? Let him do the work. Occasionally give him a little bit of persuasion, kind of scare him a little bit, and you'll get a lot more bites, okay? And see how much more gentle that was versus throwing a float out there. I'm just holding him right above that brush. But you can already see how I was fishing with the float and I didn't have to reel or anything. But now I'm having to keep that bait up off that brush so I don't get hung. I want it to be right above the brush. I don't want it to be in the brush. I want it to be right above the brush, okay? And this brush pile is pretty big, it goes out a good ways. And see there again. I know we in that brush because I can feel it. We hadn't got hung up in it yet. But if you get hung up in it, guys, that's okay. Don't worry about it. You're going to. If you spider rigging, if you casting jigs, if you're fishing with minnows, you go get hung up in your brush piles. There just ain't no way around it. cast him right over to the right side this time. How about that? See what that does. Well, alright guys. Well, that's going to do it for this video, okay? I hope you like what you see. If you do like what you see, like the video. And if you really, really like what you see, think about subscribing to the channel. It helps me out. I hope this helps somebody out, okay? Fishing with the float or not fishing with the float, it's up to you. It's up on the day. It's up on the crappie. It's up on... The decision is made by all of those, okay? But anyways, thank y'all for watching, and God bless.